I'm glad somebody recognizes Nemo up there. Okay. Good evening, Salamat Batang. My name is Gabrielle Johnson, and I work in a U.S. program called the Coral Reef Conservation Program. And I'm lucky enough that my job takes me all over the world, but I spend a lot of time in hotel rooms. So when I get that rare opportunity to go out to a field site, I am ecstatic with joy. And so a few years back, I had that opportunity to go out to this beautiful island that's famous for its coral reefs. And I was so excited. I got there, and this beautiful white sand beach and the emerald blue sea and the palm trees swaying with the warm tropical breeze and the sun rays giving me a hug, welcoming me home. So I was hurriedly putting on my snorkel gear and running down the dock. And at the same time, the local children were jumping on and off the dock and just enjoying the water as well. And I jump in with my snorkel gear, put on my mask, and the reef just opens up in front of me like a kaleidoscope of colors. Oranges, blue, green, and millions of fish just swimming everywhere. And the local kids are screaming off the dock, Miss Gabby, what do you see? What are you looking at? What are you doing? And I call them over to me, and I hand them my mask, and they put it on, and for the first time, they get to look under the water and see clearly this life that lives under this area they're near all day long. And they're squealing with delight and giggles and screams about all these different fish. So we swim along and we come across an anemone with a family of clownfish. And the clownfish are cautiously swimming up at us, and the minute we move, they duck back down to the safety of their anemone home. And it's almost as though the fish are enjoying watching us as much as we enjoy watching them. So we continue along our exploration of the reef, and we come to that section of the reef where it drops off into the deep, and the dark blue is out in front of us, and we see this dark shape kind of coming in towards us. And the children look very fearful and huddle against me, worried it's something coming out of the depths to eat them. And it turns out it's a sea turtle that's moving awkwardly yet gracefully towards us. And it comes closer, and it joins in near us, and it joins in with all the fish on the reef, and there's just this wondrous parade of life in front of us. And all of a sudden, there's this roar in the background. And I look up, and the kids look up, and we look out above the water there, and this giant boat has come in with all these tourists. And the kids just look at me and go, yeah, that happens all day long. So these folks are coming out to this beautiful place also to enjoy the reef. So we just continue on our way, looking at the different life, and a small reef shark starts swimming in towards us, and the kids' eyes get really big with fear, and they sort of look at me, and I just sort of laugh, thinking, sharks, they're not really going to harm us. And the shark swims on by, and they sort of laugh it off, and I'm thinking to myself, it's funny how people are afraid of sharks. And the next thing I know, something brushes against me. And in that instant, I think, that shark has come back to make me part of the morning buffet. So I cautiously start to turn to the left, and all of a sudden, something flies into my face. And I pull it off my face, and I take it down into my hand, and I look at this weird, flat, metallic fish in my hand, and somehow its scales form the words Lay's. I'm like, So I look over to the left again, and another weird fish is flying at me, and this one says Oreos. And then another piece comes in, it's a 7-Eleven jellyfish. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves swimming in this school of trash fish. And I look over to the children, and they're just like, I don't know. So we pop our heads up off above the water to look again, and there's that same tourist boat taking off, leaving a trail of trash behind it. And I look to the kids, and I'm like, what? And they go, city folk. So I just shrug my shoulders and kind of feel a little heartbreak inside, because I think of all my travels in the world, there actually hasn't been a single place I've gone to, as isolated as I've been in some parts of the world, where I haven't found garbage on the beach or in the water. It's a little heartbreaking. So we continue on our exploration, and we come back to our anemone with our clownfish family, and there they are plucking trash, trying to dislodge it out of their anemone home. And I look over to one of them, and I swear one of them looks up at me and is shaking his head, and he's saying, human folk. So a few days later, I have the chance to go out to another part of the island and enjoy an afternoon where the families like to go as well. And this beautiful white sand beach, there's mangroves, and that emerald blue sea is just such an amazing color. It's very hard to describe. And I get to watch the families enjoy their time on the beach and have lunch and just enjoy that family time together. And it's such a pleasure and a gem for me to be part of that. And so I watched them start to pack up and get ready to go home, and I noticed there's some debris left on the ground. And so they go to walk away, and one of the children tugs at his father, and he says, Dad, we can't leave this here. And he's like, it's okay. Someone will get it. Someone will get it. And he goes, no. Dad, if we don't take care of this, who will? And in that moment, that young, wise soul made me drop a tear. Because I thought to myself, wow, this is the future. These are the folks we need to look to think about how to protect our resources. So now when I go on trainings, we do a lot of work to help folks come up with strategies to preserve their areas. And I always remind them to not forget about these wise young souls, because they're the ones who truly can be our allies in conservation efforts. So thank you. Terima kasih.